Welcome one and all to Last Stop Penn Station podcast featuring Cary Silkin and Ian Riccaboni. They dive deep into Cary's wealth of stories, and no subject is off limits. From the world of wrestling to his ticket agency, growing up in New Jersey, drug-fueled underground days, hustling in the French Quarter of New Orleans, and endless days and nights in New York City, every story is worth telling.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting edition of Last Stop Penn Station. We're back, Cary.
We're back.
Vacation edition of Last Stop Penn Station.
Well, we all had a little vacation, and there's more to come. Our producer, AJ, went on a wonderful trip. He left the Lehigh Valley area, drove to Asheville, spent some time there. Seeing some historical sites and visiting some friends in Asheville. No, there's no friends in Asheville. Making some new friends, maybe. And then he went to see Dustin.
All right. Discussing Dustin.
Yeah. And drove on to Florida. And another good friend of ours, Kenny, who's a listener. And he did a lot of driving, but he had a good time in that beautiful Florida weather. And why don't you tell our listeners a little about your trip?
Yeah, we took a day trip to Winchester, Virginia. It is the home of Dinosaur Land. It is, I think it opened in 1962 or 1963. There's a big paper mache. It feels like paper mache, but they're a little higher quality.
What's the entrance fee to Dinosaur Land?
It ended up being $28 for the four of us. So I think it was $9 a piece for me and Sarah. And
for $28, one child can't get into Dorney Park.
Right, even with the Coke can, even with the $10 off on the Coke can. Yeah. So it was great. We weren't there from it takes 3 hours to drive there. We weren't there for more than 30 minutes. It's a nice little outdoor thing. The kids Nora was running up to all the dinosaurs and hugging them, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, we didn't know how Zach would like it because he was into dinosaurs when Nora was, so about 2 years ago. But he was loving it. He was just having fun chasing his little sister around, and then we stayed over in Martinsburg, Virginia, or West Virginia.
Wait, before you get off Dinosaur Land, what was the culinary delight of Dinosaur Land?
They didn't have a gift. They have a wonderful gift shop.
They have to have some kind of snacks and food.
No, they don't.
Come on, you can't get a hot dog and a soda?
You can't. There's a missed opportunity.
They don't have a vending machine? They got
not even a vending
kids.
They got a 7-Eleven across the street.
No kidding.
And they got a flea market that runs on the weekend.
You know what? I think we should
invest.
Head down there and say, rent us a space.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? We had to stay in Martinsburg.
Did they have bathrooms?
Yes. But they were the old style. They were the very small bathrooms that you can barely kind of squeeze your shoulders through.
Okay.
And the door doesn't quite open big enough to get your full body in, so you got to shimmy in.
Well, at least it was private as opposed to going to Fenway Park or Wrigley with the urinating trough.
Yes.
That's lovely.
Bringing back memories of Veterans Stadium as well. Yeah. Who thought that was a good idea? Everybody just whip it out and pee in a big...
I was never comfortable.
Yeah.
It was just disgusting. But anyway, I'm glad they didn't have the trough at the dinosaur park.
Yeah, it was a good time. But there's definitely an opportunity. The closest hotel is 15 minutes away. So there's plenty of land. I mean, they should plop down a courtyard.
They had to have souvenirs.
They had plenty of souvenirs. We got T-shirts that looked like they were pressed in 1985, which are really cool. And they have a lot of dinosaur toys. It's tough. That was actually the toughest part, getting the kids out and spending less than $100 on all the dinosaur toys.
Right.
So,
and of course, they put the like any good carny, they put the gift shop near the exit.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't leave without going through the gift shop. You physically can't leave. You are fenced in. And you cannot leave.
So AJ had that beautiful ride down south and back. I know he came back because his parents were in town, which is cool. bet he might have cut his trip short a little, but no, he wanted to see his parents.
Yeah.
You know? And I understand you're taking another trip.
Taking another trip. We've been extremely lucky. My parents are vaccinated. My brother's vaccinated. His wife is vaccinated. My wife's family's vaccinated. Her sister, her brother-in-law, our in-laws. So I'm flying down to Orlando.
Okay.
To
From
see.
Allentown?
Yeah, I'm connected through Charlotte. Even though there is a direct flight to Sanford.
Yeah, it's only like once a week, though.
Yeah, and Sanford's like an hour away.
Right, and if that plane messes up, you're dead.
You're dead. Yeah. So, flying down, leaving Saturday morning, coming back Monday, and So the only rule my wife said, I'm flying down because I'm vaccinated. Because American Airlines said you have until June 1st or your points disappear, and I got a lot of points, about 17 flights worth. And she said the only rule is, just don't go to Disney World. Just save that.
It's reasonable.
Reasonable. So I book the flight. I wake up the next morning and my brother sends me a screenshot of a reservation to stay at Disney World.
I would thought you would have said, do me a favor, don't go to any of those massage parlors, please.
No, I'm not one that's into the massage. Okay. So yeah, not that there's anything wrong with that if it's a legal consenting transaction, but it's just not my speed. So we're going to Disney World.
Cool.
Yeah. My brother's picking me up from the airport, driving right to the Magic Kingdom.
Now, if you hadn't have bought those Disney World passes, what were you thinking about doing?
We were just going to hang out, and I was going to try and help him with the kids. Baby number 3's coming.
Okay.
And his wife's a saint, though, and she said she's, I guess, going to watch the kids for a little bit and let my brother and I have a time together, which we don't, my brother and I don't get to spend a lot of individual time together. So
he's happy you're coming. And
yeah.
So he might stop at the massage parlor on the way to Disney World.
I have a not safe for work story about my bachelor party that's along those lines.
All right. We'll get to that one day. Real quick, we continuing on with the 55 and 5, the Parkhurst Wrestling Card Series.
Starting back up next week.
Yes, and I think we're up to number 80.
We're going to hit 80 by next Friday. Yeah.
Cool.
And just as a preview, if you like those, if you like the Ghost, this time we have a zombie. We have a guy who passed away and yet has multiple results. And it's not a common name, but he has multiple results after his death.
Another one I'm not going to know anything about.
So it's a unique name, results after his passing. You want to check that one out. You want to check all of them out, and that's 55and5.com.
And as long as you're on ad-free shows, make sure you check out the poster of the week.
Yeah, we've got a lot of good ones, up to 12.
Yep.
13's coming, and yeah.
We really enjoy doing them, sharing my collection.
Mm-hmm.
But before we move on, big Ring of Honor TV show coming up this week. It's the 500th. Now, we're not talking about Cary's Ring of Honor. We had HDNet and we had a lot of great accomplishments, but we're talking about since Sinclair purchased the company from me in 2011, we have produced 500 weeks of TV, which is pretty damn incredible.
Incredible. Yeah, it's something that's it's flattering, and it's amazing to see that Ring of Honor's had that support for so long, and it's longer than ECW lasted. It's longer than Monday Nitro. It's longer than some of these Hallmark programs that get talked about and reviewed.
More episodes than Seinfeld.
Yeah, absolutely. And to do an hour every week, you see these. I think we take for granted how much wrestling we have on TV, because any amount of wrestling in a packaged produced format, it takes a lot more than an hour to put together an hour's worth of television. So
yes, it does.
Just amazing stuff.
So when this podcast comes out on Friday, that weekend, this upcoming weekend, is when the 500th show will be debuting on the Sinclair affiliates. And then on Monday night at 7 p.m., as every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, there's a watch party where you can watch the show on the Ring of Honor website at no charge, although we'd like you to be an Honor Club member.
Right.
There's so much good content.
Yeah.
But I was trying to fit in, there's going to be a bonus program, but it's going to happen before this comes out.
It is, yeah. It was just announced. So if you're listening to this Friday morning, which everybody will be, last night, Thursday night, we had a watch along for Honor Club members, which is one of the perks of Honor Club. It's airing on the Plex channel, and if you don't have Plex or Stir,
I was looking at Plex, and Ring of Honor it's one of these downloadable, no different than Netflix or so. Ring of Honor is going to be available on Plex.
We have a 24/7 channel, and the idea is to bring special programming there. If you missed it last night, I'm sure it'll be posted in some form or fashion on Honor Club or somewhere. Where there was a 2-hour retrospective on the greatest moments of the 500 episodes. So in addition to the 500th episode premiering for the first time ever on Stir and on Plex on the Ring of Honor Best on the Planet channel, you also got a 2-hour retrospective that was put together that no one had seen prior to that as well.
And the warm-up show.
Yeah, we were on the pregame show.
We're doing this on a Wednesday night, and we're taping it tomorrow, which I'm going to be.
Yeah.
Appreciate I'm going to be part of it. I guess that'll be on YouTube. Some people can watch it.
It's going to be live, but if you haven't seen it, if you want to hear, Cary's thoughts about the 500th episode,
as well as many other,
absolutely, be star-studded affair. Yeah, please check it out on YouTube, youtube.com/Ring of Honor. That'll be up there, and it's going to be a good time. I can't believe that it's kind of overwhelming. I'm closing in on a record, Cary. I'm almost at that over 250 mark, which would put me in the driver's seat as the person that's called the most Ring of Honor matches.
That's amazing,
isn't it?
And you should have been there at taping number 1, which was at Chicago Ridge.
Yeah,
which was the longtime home. You've been to Chicago.
I've been to Chicago Ridge, yeah.
And Jim Cornette, as well as Delirious, were the executive producers. And they brought in a beautiful lighting rig. There were a lot of growing pains at the time. And things, when you see the show itself, which of course could be edited, plays smooth.
Yeah.
But, there were some problems that night. And I remember Jim, I'm sitting, you wouldn't, if the matches are going on and the curtain is up, there were bleachers on one side where the talent could sort of sit if you weren't in the dressing room. And at one point, I'm sitting next to Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. And I think the first match, I don't know, I think Jay Lethal might have been in it. I'm not sure. But at one point, Jim Cornette, Kyle O'Reilly says to me, "What's he doing? He's going to have a heart attack." And Jim Cornette was jumping up and down. He was so upset, something with the lighting or something with the mic.
Yeah.
And I remember running over to Jim. And Jim and I we still get on great. And I go, "Jim," "take it easy." He goes, "What do you mean, take it easy?" He's just so passionate.
Yeah.
But that was show 1. And here we are at show 500.
Amazing.
With many more to come.
Absolutely. It's mind-boggling. It's, and what a great episode we have. It was picked by the fans. We had polls up on facebook.com / Choose Your Honor, and the fans selected Mark A.J. Briscoe and Jonathan Gresham versus Jay Lethal. We had a poll, which tag team would you like to see face each other? And Mark and Jay Briscoe, the overwhelming favorite. And then who would you like to see challenge Jonathan Gresham for the Pure Championship? And Jay Lethal, the overwhelming favorite there. So those two matches by fan demand, and I don't think the fans could have picked any better matches.
And it gives a great representation of classic Ring of Honor and a guy like Jonathan Gresham, who's just, he could have fit in back in any era of Ring of Honor. He's just so good. And How many belts does he have now?
Yeah, he's down to one, unfortunately, but yeah, he's had that pure title since September. So, and he's not letting go of it, undefeated in single matches, pure championship.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show. Speaking of great shows, AJ and I finally finished. We thought it was 10 parts, but it turned out to be 8 parts. This, you got to check this out. The Aretha Franklin. It's not a documentary. It's a 8-part dramatical series about her life and what a life she had.
Yeah.
We spoke about it a little, and the last part ended with, I had forgotten, maybe you remember this or heard about it. She performed at the 1992 Grammys, 91. It's one of those years. I'm looking at AJ.
About
92. Let me get this straight. Pavarotti was supposed to perform and doing an operatic, legendary piece of music. And maybe they dramatized it a bit, but she had performed and one of the producers of the Grammys comes in and knocks on the dressing room. I think just opened the door. No, it was a knock. She's with her sister. He goes, Aretha, you think you can help me with something? She said, sure, honey. Pavarotti's sick. He can't hear his voice, something. We need someone, they had like a 80-piece orchestra. This is like one of the high, they might have had Bon Jovi also. Yeah. But this was one of the highlights. And she's like, I'm not an opera. She shows, can I hear a tape?
Yeah.
And let me see the words. It was in Italian.
Yeah.
And she pulled it off, and they had actual footage of it.
Wow.
And she had like no rehearsal time, literally. She just listened to it.
Sight read it.
And went out and did it. And it was amazing. Great series. And so when that was over, AJ and I have desperately been scouring. AJ has told me that there's a movie coming out about the life of Aretha Franklin.
Wow.
Imminently. A feature film. So we wanted to try, I said, let's try to find like a live Aretha concert. And there wasn't any on YouTube that popped right up. But we saw something that caught my eye. It was James Brown, 1988, from Detroit. With special, apparently it was made for Cinemax.
Okay.
In the early days of Cinemax.
Right.
And the special guests, it was, when I think of James Brown, he didn't have no guests.
Yeah, he was the show.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you know who the Cape Man is?
Oh yeah, he'd be the guy who, when James Brown would need to hulk up, so to speak, he'd come out, James Brown would kind of collapse,
right?
They'd throw the cape
and
on.
They got that through wrestling.
Yeah.
and he would also start the show. Yeah. Are you ready? Ready for the Godfather?
Yeah.
Are you ready? James Brown, as we've learned from watching documentaries, they start the song. The songs are on the one. As instead of, and I'm not a musician, so I'm not going to be. I need you or AJ to help me here. Instead of a 4/4, the beat comes in on the one.
Yeah.
Right, and so. James Brown had as special guests. It's only 50 minutes. You gotta watch this. It's he had Robert Palmer.
Wow. Okay.
He had Wilson Pickett.
Oh wow.
There was another guy that we couldn't identify, like a Van Morrison type, but it was not a name. And he had Aretha Franklin.
Wow.
And he had Joe Cocker.
Oh no way. And
most of them did. I'll tell you, I give James Brown a lot of credit. He knows how to work.
Yeah.
So like when he had his Wilson Pickett up, Wilson Pickett was the first guest. He's like, Wilson, you do one of mine, I do one of yours. And they do like, Mother Popcorn or whatever. and then they went into, I'm not going to remember.
Sweet soul music.
What's the other one? The famous Wilson Pickett song. God damn.
Midnight Hour?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And James Brown would acquiesce to these artists. So Joe Cocker comes on, and they did a James Brown, and it wasn't a famous Cocker song, but as AJ pointed out to me, they had a Joe Cocker, like Little Help for My Friend.
Yeah.
They had a scream off. It was awesome. And then that led to Robert Palmer.
Yeah.
He passed away, right?
He's passed away since. Yeah. And he's a guy really underrated. His big hits, Simply Irresistible and all that. But he's Sneaking Sally Through the Alley, Hey Julia. His first couple albums are awesome.
So they did a James Brown song, and they bust right into Addicted to Love.
There you go.
And James Brown basically let him do the whole song, and then at the very end, James Brown comes in, might as well face it, and that led to Aretha, and then in the end, everybody came on stage, and they did the Cape routine.
Nice.
It was great.
Yeah.
So that's our pop culture. So we got to find something new to watch now. Boy, that was good.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Peacock has a lot of...
I can't get it on the damn Fire Stick.
I got it. They have a lot of good music, surprisingly. And that's probably because they have the Universal license. It's NBC Universal, so they get essentially any artist or any movie related artists, I think, that are in the Universal orbit. So, I watched the Harry Belafonte thing, but they have Zeppelin. They have all kinds of music stuff that I'm just about to dig my teeth into. So,
well, I'll have to figure out how to get the Peacock. How could they not have it on the Fire Stick?
Yeah, it's weird because, like we said with Stir and Plex, I think Stir is on everything, but Plex isn't on some things. And
I got to oil this chair.
Yeah,
I feel
we
like
switched.
I
We
feel-
switched.
yeah.
I got the one with the arms today.
Here, you take this.
Yeah, all right.
I feel like the Tin Man.
The Tin.
This is a lot.
We're changing chairs for those of you who are
It's all right. It's like a
listening.
dance.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm usually in this one. I
With my back has been bothering me, so I thought that'd be more comfortable. But I don't want to be squeaking the whole show.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease. You wouldn't be able to sneak Sally through the alley, as the great Robert Palmer once sang.
Well, the last time on Last Stop Penn Station, we got a really good response. People love to hear the Freddie the Weeper stories.
Yeah.
I got contacted by some of my old scalper friends, as well as some of our other listeners. One of our listeners made a comment who met me in Tampa, which I'm going to talk about, and said, I don't know if you saw I think you saw this. He says, my favorite podcast. He goes, all hail Boof.
Boof, yes.
So I too went on vacation.
Yeah.
I was so anxiety ridden and nervous because of I haven't flown. There I was before the pandemic, as you traveling back and forth, seeing Hadestown once a week, going to Elton John, driving to Baltimore.
You flew out to Nashville, Ring of Honor, Atlanta, everywhere.
Yeah. And but since that time I've had some back issues, which I'm working on and getting better. So I was nervous just to even drive to Newark. Yes, I could have taken an Uber, but I got there, no problem. This past Tuesday. And my primary purpose, people go, oh, you going to WrestleMania? I go, no, I want to see my friends. And the friends that I wanted to see was Jay Lethal, who lives in Tampa.
Right.
Bushwhacker Luke, who lives in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
Brian. Now, I knew the laundry list of my WWE friends, Kevin Steen and Seth Rollins, and they're going to be busy. Right. But Brian Kendricks, my dear friend Spanky, he was agenting a couple of matches, working behind the scenes with Great Bad Bunny,
who did wonderful. And shout out to our friend Luis, Damian Priest.
Oh yeah,
who he held that together, and he looked like a star. I mean, he's going to be the world champion sooner rather than later, I think. But
he's so good. And the other match he was working with was the Big E.
Yeah, and
Apollo Crews.
Apollo Crews, the drum match,
right?
Which was it's an interesting premise.
So, and then the WrestleCon was there, So just like you used your points for that flight coming up, I used my points to stay where the WrestleCon was. I knew Matt Taven was going to be there, as well as
Mike Bennett.
Mike Bennett's name was on there.
They've been getting vaccinated. Lethal's been getting vaccinated. I'm thrilled.
And I left out Kevin Sullivan. He was going to be in town. So I made it to Newark. I was shocked. The airport wasn't empty, but it was empty enough that when you give the, he's showing me your ID, there was one person in front of me.
Wow.
Thus, when you put the bag through the thing, there was just two of them.
Wow.
And there was one guy and the other one was empty.
Wow.
So I went right through, and plane was on time. I had contacted, Spanky was arriving Tuesday night also. Bushwhacker Luke, I called him. I said, look, he lives like 50 minutes away from downtown Tampa. I said, look, I'd love to see you tonight, but what time are you get in, mate? I said, well, I get in like 6 o'clock. I go, I'm not asking you to pick me up from the airport, but maybe you come out to dinner later. He goes, I'll come out to dinner. Spanky's flight was coming in around the same time. So my flight gets in 20 minutes early. Wow. Miracle, right? Right to the gate, boom, I'm off. I get an Uber. So I use my points for the hotel because it was at a very nice Westin. You know that Riverwalk in Tampa?
Oh, yeah.
So I was like the first wrestling person there on Tuesday. So I got there. I text Brian. He's in town. He goes, let me just drop my bags off. And he and all the WWE guys were at the Marriott, big, beautiful Marriott, which was a quarter mile from where I was.
Oh, wow.
So I get to the hotel. I get in the room. Brian meets me at 7 o'clock. And right next door to the hotel is this beautiful cheese basket. A beautiful restaurant. This restaurant, Jackson's. It was an indoor-outdoor. I mean, if you wanted a good steak, if you wanted the finest vegetarian, if you wanted sushi, if you wanted seafood, they had it all. Wow. But and it was right on and the weather was gorgeous, and they had an outdoor area, and not a lot of social distancing, but.
Going to ask, the airport sounded safe, but Florida, my brother's in Orlando, he says it's kind of the Wild West.
This restaurant, when you get into there you want to be like looking at this beautiful view with the sunset, it's set up that direction, you're looking towards the west, and there's boats and sailboats, and there's a huge bar and there's tables, but it was loud, and they got this music,
Were they playing Strokin' by Clarence
Carter?
Yeah.
A modern day version. They're playing Cardi B. I'm like, so I said is there she goes, sure, there's an indoor part. So we go into this night. It was like, it's like getting off the train in Hoboken after being in the city. You just get off the train, the PATH train. People go back to our episodes, and it's just like, So we go into this restaurant, and we sit down, and I call Luke. He goes, mate, I'm sorry I'm late, but he goes, I'll be there in about an hour. No problem. So Brian and I sat there, had some hors d'oeuvres, and caught up, just talking. And before you know it, it's funny, Brian, who obviously knows Luke, but Luke had never met Brian. He certainly knows who he is. So we're sitting at the table, and suddenly Brian goes, sir. And Luke was right behind us. So Luke comes around, he sits down. We had the restaurant closed. It wasn't one of these places where the bar stays open late.
Right.
The restaurant and bar closed at 10 o'clock. We probably ordered around 8:30, and we were the last table there.
Wow. Because
we were just talking and having such a great time. And Luke was regaling us with wonderful stories. I would be like, hey, Luke, tell him about when Andre flew. But Luke was interested in Brian because because Luke was the one who got Johnny Ace his first job. And have you worked with this guy?
Oh, yeah, when he was the flag bearer for the sheep herders, yeah.
Right. And who's back, Bruce Pritchard.
Sure.
And so Brian was telling stories of modern day behind the scenes WWE. So we finished our meal and, Luke's bids adieu. It's about 11 at night. And I said, Brian, what are you doing tomorrow? He goes, I don't have anything till like 3 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Hey, you want to go to the Hard Rock? It's the casino. He's like, sure. So we grab an Uber. We go to the Hard Rock. This is, once again, the very first night.
Wow. And you got the masks on, right?
Yeah.
The casino. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
And you get to the casino and it says temperature check. Well, unless it was like automatic, like an easy pass.
Right.
Well, I was telling people this story and I said, I hadn't been out. Well, we got there around 11:30. As it turns out, we were there for a while, and I'll tell a little more detail. We stayed there till around, next thing we knew, it was about 3:30 in the morning.
Wow. Okay.
And I was going to say, I hadn't been out that late for 30 years, but that's not true.
Me and you.
I was out that late with you.
In Vegas.
In Vegas, and we had to stay up not the last trip.
Right.
But when we had to stay up all night.
To get the flights.
Right.
Yeah.
And we had a similar experience where we were able to play craps.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have real craps. They have a machine, and with these big bouncing dice. Oh. But it has the same camaraderie.
Yeah.
The fans around the table, and they had it partitioned with plastic.
Okay.
People are rooting, so it had the same vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So we were there, and the next thing we knew, it was 3:30. Might have won a couple hundred, might have lost a couple hundred. Point is, we weren't digging in our pockets.
Yeah.
We were able to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I got back to the hotel. Brian's such a gentleman. I'm like, well, let's drop you off. And then he goes, no, man, I'll just walk. And he's known to have a drink or two or three. It's like Mr. Bojangles.
Sure.
Right? Anyway, so I got back to my room. It was like 4:15.
Wow.
But I set my alarm for 9:30. Mm-hmm. And because it was supposed to be 85 and sunny.
Beautiful.
So I got up. I was tired, but I got up, went downstairs, had some breakfast. I made my first dabble into tickets again by buying some WrestleMania tickets.
Okay. How'd that go?
Awful.
Oh.
Well, we'll talk about that. So I had like 24 tickets for Saturday and 20 for Sunday. And then I'm like, oh, why did I get involved? I'm going to be worried about these tickets, right?
Yeah.
And the prices were going down. The writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to move them.
Right.
So that brings us to Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So as I said, Brian had something to do at 3 o'clock. So I got coffee, checked the computer, a couple tickets sold, did what I had to do. So I go to the pool. Now, here's a name that you don't know. This is from Ring of Honor. You got to be a real historian. Okay. There was a kid that was a referee from the original Ring of Honor till about 2004-ish. Mm-hmm. Gary Morer.
Wow. Yeah, that stumped me.
Yeah. And so Todd would know him. Mm-hmm. Nice guy. Haven't seen him. I think I saw him at a Ring of Honor event like 12 years ago. Yeah. But so he calls me and I'm like, sure, let's get together. Where he goes, let's meet at the Hard Rock. So now it's Wednesday at 2 in the afternoon, whatever. So I go over to the Hard Rock. I meet him. We caught up talking about the old original days of ROH and all these stories and these, early road trips. He's doing very well. He's a really good guy, and he's a listener of ours. And
very cool.
Gary, it was so good seeing you. And I was supposed to go to dinner with Lethal that night, mm-hmm. Wednesday night. So I said, do you want to come with us? He goes, nah, because he lives in Orlando. And he drank. I shouldn't be talking without his consent, but he had a few beers that afternoon. And I'm like, you don't need to give me a ride I'll take an Uber back. I go, dude, you're going to Orlando. You better be careful. He goes, no, I'm good. So he drives me back to the hotel and he gives me a little tour of what is it? Ybor City?
I have some Ybor City stories. Yeah.
But it was quiet. It was like 5 PM.
Yeah.
So he drops me off and says, you sure you don't want to stay for dinner? No. Well, I was meeting another Ring of Honor alumnus.
Oh.
Jake Christ.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
Jake's good guy.
Yeah, I know Jake. Yeah.
He's
unfortunately his brother allegedly is not so good. And unfortunately, allegedly.
Yeah, I know his brother, and we'll just leave it alone. But
Jake has a very good reputation.
Right, and he's also a good wrestler. And because of the allegations to his brother, he got fired by Impact. He's hoping he's like dying to try to get a Ring of Honor tryout. I told him I'll tell him whatever. He had some bookings down there, so he's a man of his word and reliable. So I meet him. So now we're waiting on Lethal. Lethal sometimes is late. So I said, let's go to the restaurant. We'll get an hors d'oeuvre. And sure enough, I get a text. It was supposed to be at 7, but I get a text like at 7:15. I'll be there in 10 minutes. I'm sorry. So Lethal comes. And then I get another text. Spanky had to do an agenting meeting about this. It was about the Big E match.
Okay.
And he was thought it was going to be from 3 to 6, but it ran a little late just because nobody wanted to do anything. And he shows up. So we had a lovely dinner with Jake, myself, Jay Lethal, and Brian and Jake go.
Right.
Brian and Jay, they all knew each other.
Sure.
But Jay and Brian go way back. So it was really nice. So, no, we did not go back to the casino. Although I would have. So everyone was a little tired. So fine. That was Wednesday.
Yeah.
That brings us to Thursday. Now, Spanky had nothing to do Thursday.
Really?
So I'm like, fine. I'll go to bed. I got some good rest. I had some breakfast. I wait around until noon. And I'm like, text him. He's like, what's up, pal? Are you up? I go, yeah, I've been up. I said, why don't you come over? We'll go to the pool. So we went to the pool. We had a little lunch. And it was great, man. It was 85 and sunny every day.
Wow.
So we went to the pool. And then that night, Lethal was supposed to come meet us again. So after the pool and we get cleaned up, I had my room right there. We head back to the Hard Rock and we get there around 6. And I went back on the dice. Well, lo and behold, there's a good roll.
Wow.
And I was on it heavy and I cashed out at 1,400 plus.
Hey, all right. Woohoo.
Milagro, a miracle. So Lethal texts us. He meets us for dinner. We go to this fine noodle bar, have some good food. And he was going to drive us back home to our hotels. Stayed there till about 11. And, Jay doesn't drink. So we go back to the hotel. And because that was it. Because Friday, Brian had meetings. And Saturday and Sunday was the WrestleMania.
Right.
So I knew that Friday morning was the convention, so I just go downstairs.
There you go.
And I saw Mike from High Spots. He's such a good guy.
Yeah.
He gives me the credentials. I said, is it cool? He gives me the credentials, gives me a T-shirt. And we had a cup of coffee and talked a little bit about, what's going on at Ring of Honor, what's going on in High Spots. Talked about next year's WrestleMania, which is going to be in Dallas.
Right.
And
that'll be the 20th anniversary for Ring of Honor. So
I think we'll be there.
I think we'll be there too.
So I went into the WrestleCon. Now you've been to these WrestleCons.
Sure.
They're busy.
They're very busy.
Not this one.
Ah.
I mean, there were people. First of all, WrestleMania started the next day.
Right.
So it's Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of people that haven't gotten into town yet.
Yeah.
Plus, you don't have any of the European people.
Sure.
They can't come.
Right.
So I go into the WrestleCon, and Mike had it set up socially very, very careful. So you had to it was sort of like you were like a fun house.
Okay.
You were walking a path.
Yeah.
And you went in, and the first area was a very nice indoor-outdoor area. And there's Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Oh.
There's Magnum TA.
Wow.
There's Lex Luger.
Mm-hmm.
There's Jake the Snake. I'm leaving out some names.
J.J. Dillon. You took a picture of it? Oh, you'll get to him?
I'll get to him.
Okay.
But, Ricky Steamboat was with us for like three, 4, or 5 shows.
Yeah.
And I had to remind him. I go, Ricky, I said, it's Cary Silkin from Ring of Honor. Remember back in 2004? And he's like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
So I talked to him. And there was no people. There were no customers. Yes, a couple people started coming through. And I wasn't there at 9 in the morning. I mean, I was there like 11.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hung out with him. I moved on. And as I was moseying through, I came across a guy who's never been in Ring of Honor, but I would always see him at these WrestleCons, and we'd always have a good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And some people don't like him. And when I bring up his name, you're going to know one of the people that doesn't like him.
Okay.
Al Snow.
Got it. Yeah. One of my very best friends in wrestling.
Right.
Yeah.
And Al Snow is such a nice man.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Which we don't have to get into.
Sure.
But I asked him about this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, I was like, there's 3 sides to every story.
Mm-hmm.
And but we sat there and talked. Unfortunately for him and all these other people, there was no business. Very little business.
Yeah.
But I had a great conversation with Al Snow. He's running OVW now.
Right.
So that was really cool.
Do you think in lieu of money, it sounds like, I mean, if I was booked for that, it might not be right for me. I'm maybe not ready for that type of crowd, assuming there was people coming in. But do you think for a lot of these folks that it was, hey, I get to get out of the house? And maybe there was an idea that maybe this one will be low key, and I'll get to dip my feet in the water. I saw a lot of the wrestlers wearing the masks in the photos.
Well, Mike gave everybody the tables for free.
Okay.
How did he make money?
Yeah.
Well, he got a special. He made money. He's selling his own stuff,
mm-hmm.
and
he's got a lot of great merchandise too from over the years.
Right.
I mean, they have
Spanky bought an autographed. That Rob Schembecker guy.
Yeah.
It was a piece of his artwork, not an original,
mm-hmm.
with Luger and who the hell was on it? Luger.
He's got one with him and Koloff. He's got one with him and Sting.
It was Luger and Sting, I think.
Yeah.
And it was signed. And
awesome.
Brian wanted it. It was $100. He's like, and I said, Mike, Mike says, I said, I think you're selling that too cheap.
Yeah.
He goes, I don't think so. No one buys it.
I got a Liger one from him for $50.
Right.
So
he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Well, from there was a second convention.
Okay.
And as for Bushwhacker Luke was,
mm-hmm.
our good friend Kevin Sullivan,
mm-hmm.
as well as Loke and DeVito.
Oh, ROH legends. Yeah.
Maria Kanellis.
All right.
I failed to say that I saw Matt Taven, which was wonderful,
mm-hmm.
and Mike Bennett.
Yeah.
And Jay White.
I love
Mike's.
Jay. Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
And Haku. I had that nice picture.
Haku, yeah.
Yeah.
I love Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, his sons, but Haku was really fun to meet. That was a big highlight for me in Madison Square Garden. Him as the surprise entrant there.
Absolutely. So I I go over to this American Legion Hall, and you know the scene from The Wrestler?
I was just going to ask. Yeah.
So I get to this little American Legion Hall that's in a little neighborhood in Tampa. It's just a small, quiet neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, where we're sitting now, including where the pinball machines are,
Yeah.
might have been this, maybe double. And the guys are in. I walk through the door,
Mm-hmm.
no admission. And the first two guys I see are two legends from our podcast.
Really? Baby dumplings?
Fidel Sierra,
Oh, Cuban assassin?
who choked, who my cousin said, who made the great line, "Oh, you're wrestling the man that killed Bruce Brody."
God, yeah.
And he's with Ricky Santana,
Oh, wow.
who's the one who told me, "Don't worry, Victor Javika's not going to." So I reintroduced myself to them.
Yeah.
They remembered me after jogging. That was cool. Saw Kevin,
Mm-hmm.
got to hang out with Kevin, and Luke was there, and JJ Dillon was there. Who's been in Ring of Honor, was at the Cage of Death.
Cage of Death. He was the enforcer, the commissioner for that.
And he's a huge baseball fan.
Yeah.
So Kevin, myself, and JJ were sitting,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking baseball, and JJ was telling me how, although he was only like 7 or 8 years old, his father or his grandfather took him to Ebbets Field.
Oh, wow.
He goes, I remember it. He goes, and you know what? Sometime in the 80s or 90s, I went back just to see it. And he goes, it's a housing project, and there's just like a little plaque.
There's a plaque, yeah.
And he goes, it's just sort of sad. But we talked about the state of baseball and the rule changes.
I don't like the extra inning change.
We talked about the state of wrestling and the difference. And he's a really nice man.
Yeah.
He is such a nice man. So that was Friday during the day. So what was I going to do Friday night? I ran into.
I was going to say go to the Hard Rock, right?
All right, I would have, because I was by myself. I ran into Keith Elliott Greenberg.
Oh, the great
writer.
wrestling writer, yeah.
Who just did the book about the independents.
Right, and he'd done the Ric Flair book.
And he'd done the Freddie Blassie book.
Mm-hmm.
He's an old hippie
Yeah.
from New York. So I see him. I said, what are you up to? He goes, well, I'm going to go get some food. I'm supposed to go over to this GCW show.
Oh,
what's that? He goes, those Game Changer Wrestling. I go, oh yeah. I go, who runs it? He goes, the guy's name. He throws some name at me. I don't know the name.
Brett Lauderdale, yeah.
Right. And then I said, who's on the show? He goes, the only names I know are Joey Janela and Effie.
Effie, yeah.
So
he hosted the great Twink Battle Royal a couple of weeks. Yeah.
So so we go back to this Jackson's and have my third time eating there. It's great. We have a wonderful meal, talking with, because he's my age, so we could talk rock, we could talk politics, we could talk anything. Mm-hmm. So I said, text this promoter.
Yeah.
And he probably might not know who I am. Mm-hmm. He says he's going to know who you are. So he texts Brett.
Yeah.
And Brett said, oh, if Cary could come, that would be great. Of course he's welcome.
He's a good guy. Yeah.
So we take an Uber over there. Mm-hmm. We go through the back. I got to meet, it's funny, man, Joey Janela. I've never met him.
Yeah.
He was very nice.
Yeah.
He knew me. Yeah. And Effie, that was right.
Who's hilarious on Twitter. I've never met him, but
nor did I. But he gave me a warm greeting.
Yeah.
And then there was the rest. Oh yeah, Virgil was there.
Oh, I saw that. And he was wearing one of Effie's Wrestling is Gay shirts, which is very nice.
Because he was involved in an Effie match.
There you go. And Joey's very nice also. I want to get that.
He is very nice.
I like Joey a lot.
And then there were these other 30 kids, wrestlers. And I would say out of these 30 people, 20% of them, which is like what, 5, came up to me and said, oh, Mr. Silken, it's very nice to meet you. 50% of it were like, who's this old guy here? But he seems that he knows people. I wonder who he is. And the other 30%, they didn't care. So I had a few of these out of the 50%. I made the rounds.
Yeah.
Hello, Cary from Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Some of them were like, hello. They didn't know who the hell I was. Nor they were impressed with. Some of them were like, oh, I'd love to get a try. I'm like, look, we have seminars when this
You're right.
pandemic's over.
Or you could. Tony Deppen came from Game Changer.
He was there too.
Okay. Yeah.
So I met him.
Yeah. So
how can I forget Tony?
He was so
that
impressive.
was cool.
I mean, we say there's two ways: go to the seminar or just be undeniable in a place like GCW. And yep.
So I had a very nice time there, and I had a couple of drinks, and I usually, if I have a couple, it's just a couple. Mm-hmm. But I had like one at dinner with Keith. Yeah. And I had like maybe two at dinner. Mm-hmm. And then at the show, it's a bar, it's an outdoor show. Mm-hmm. And at my third drum, I know you're a one beer guy. Yeah. I'm three glasses of wine. And so there was this very nice young man whose name is Ben, who's a referee. And he knew me, and he was very polite. And there was a matinee. It's like the circus. Yeah. Matinee, an 8 o'clock show, and a midnight show. Right. So this referee kid, which is 30 years old, Ben, I said, "Are you on this show right now?" He goes, "No, I'm on the midnight show." Like, would you do me a favor? Now, this was in Ybor City, but it was on the outskirts. Yeah. So I didn't want to go on, and I was stupid. I still had that money for the night before. Why I didn't put it in the room. Yeah. So I said to Ben, "Hey, listen, you might think this sounds unusual, but would you mind walking with me to like the main part of Ybor City? I said, I'll buy you a drink. I want to get a cigar too, and get me in a cab." Yeah. And he goes, "Just let me just tell the promoter." And he did. And it's not like I was falling down, but I just wanted someone next to me, you know. So when we got to the main part of Ybor City, as opposed to when Gary Morer drove me through it, right, it was like Bourbon Street. Right. So we went into a bar. I had yet another, just like I needed another. Should have got a soda. Got another drink. Bought the kid a drink. Found a cigar bar. AJ, he heard all this already, so AJ's falling asleep. But like this cigar place, it only had its own brand. And sometimes as cigar smokers, when you find that, they're not necessarily good. You know, but this place, this was classic with the Latin guys playing dominoes in the back. Very cool. Right. And we found, so the bar and the cigar place were two different entities. So bar, down the street to the cigar place, the kid hung out with me. Ben, thank you very much. I'm going to give you a shout out. And he lives in Texas. He's asking me about how do I get a shot with Ring of Honor. And I called Bobby Cruz. I tried to call Todd. Yeah. And Bobby, we had him on FaceTime. Bobby's like, look, man, it's tough, but, you know, Todd's our main referee. And maybe if we come to Texas or if you go to a seminar. Right. But he was very nice. And he stayed with me till the Uber came. And my drunk ass got in the cab, and I thanked him so much. And I texted him the next, you know, I texted him the rest of the weekend. And so that was my Friday. So now comes Saturday. Yeah. So I got these stupid tickets. And I want to get rid of these tickets. And I just want to lowball them. Yeah. Just get rid of them. So I go to breakfast. I got back to the hotel about like around midnight. I get up at 9 o'clock again. I go out and I get breakfast. And I'm standing out in front of the hotel. There's a Starbucks. I get another coffee. And this 30-year-old, non-typical wrestling-looking fan comes up to me. Says, "Excuse me, Cary." I go, "Yeah." Because my name's Andy. He goes, you took me out to dinner with Kyle O'Reilly one time. I go, "I did?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm really good friends with Kyle. And when he first got in Ring of Honor, we came to New York and you took us out." I go, "All right." Cool. He goes, I really appreciated that. And he wasn't a big fan. He's a fan because of Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
So he says to me, do you think you could get me into the WrestleCon? I'd love to just, I go, yeah. So I go, come on. So we go in. He was just we just walked around. He knew Matt Taven.
Mm-hmm.
He knew Jake the Snake. He just thought it was cool seeing these people. Got to shake Mike Bennett's hand. Maria was there now. This is the second day.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's around noon. And I said to him, I got to go upload these tickets. I got these stupid tickets. I said, it was like off the cuff. I said, what are you doing the rest of the day? He goes, I'm going to the ball game. So I said, oh, really? I said, who's Tampa playing? He goes, the Yankees.
Oh.
I go, who are you going with? He goes, I don't have anyone to go with. He goes, I have 2 tickets. Do you want to go?
Hey, there you go.
So he told me that he's driving there, but after the game, he's got to go in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
Point being, he can't give me a ride back.
Right.
So I said, look, I got to go upload these tickets.
Yeah.
Go to the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take an Uber. There was a lot of traffic. And I got there about bottom of the first. Oh, it was miserable. The Yankees, it was 4-0 Tampa win.
Wow.
The Yankees just couldn't do
And that
anything.
stadium is... Ooh.
I know, but it was, you know what, Ian? It was nice to see baseball
Yeah.
right in front of my eyes.
Yeah.
Even as with all the negativity of that stadium.
Yeah.
So when that was over, took an Uber back, got rid of the rest of the tickets, and I'm in my room. I'm like, oh, the tickets are gone. And I get a fucking email from StubHub. The barcodes didn't work on 2 sets of tickets. So there's nothing I can do.
Right.
So I'm going to get penalized. I don't get the sale.
Yeah.
They're going to buy tickets. This is another reason for me not to be in the ticket business. Joe, who worked with me 27 years, I told him the story today. He's, this is one of the reasons I'm closing, and so Saturday night, what am I going to do? Luke was at a WrestleMania watch party. Lethal had gone to Texas to do a seminar.
Okay.
So I'll go to this watch party.
Mm-hmm. Where
Where is it? It's at a rib place, which was very good, except it was like right next to the Tampa Rays Stadium, which is like, we're talking 30 miles away.
Yeah.
So
it's
I
Tampa
go,
plays in
fine,
St. Pete.
I'll go back. So I go there. Who's there? Rocky Romero.
Oh, yeah.
As well as Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
All right.
As well as Doc Gallows and
Yeah.
Anderson.
Mhm.
I get the name, right?
Yep. Doc Gallows.
Good
yeah.
brothers.
Yeah.
So
Anderson, yeah.
it was great. I really had a good time with Rocky
Yeah.
and Luke. And it was cool meeting Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And I did not want to have too many drinks. I did not want to be, as Billy Joel said, over the line. I didn't see it was time to go home.
Yeah.
So and it's funny, the WrestleMania was on.
Yeah.
Oh, you know who else was there? And they were very nice.
Who's that?
Enzo and Cass.
Okay.
And Cass came up to me and says, I just want to say hello. Kevin and Remy have told me so many stories about you.
Yeah.
I go, I hope they were good ones. And Enzo was very nice too.
Mm-hmm.
He was very nice.
Yeah.
But the thing that I found strange was nobody was watching the WrestleMania except when Seth Rollins and Cesaro's match came on.
Oh, wow.
And that was good.
Yeah.
But the other matches, no one was really paying attention. And about 10:30, I said to Rocky, I'm getting out of here.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, Cary, are you staying by where the WrestleCon is? I go, yeah. He goes, that's where I am. He goes, can I split the Uber with you?
Mm-hmm.
I go, just come on. So he knew it was time to leave too.
Yeah.
His wife is down there. They're looking to buy a
Awesome.
place in Tampa.
Yeah.
So we split the Uber. Out we went.
Mm-hmm.
And I changed my flight to 8:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the 8:30 flight and I'm in first class, thanks to my American Express points. And there's no one next to me. And just before they're ready to close the door, this very handsome, thin 30-year-old man-ish sits next to me. Hello. You know how on planes sometimes people don't like you to talk?
Sure.
So I'm just saying, how you doing? And he's like, what were you doing in Tampa? I go, well, I was involved with pro wrestling. Just seeing some friends. He goes, oh, yeah, I saw something about wrestling. He was not. I go, yeah, WrestleMania. Oh, that's right. I saw a billboard.
Yeah.
I said, what were you doing there? He goes, I play baseball.
Huh.
Well, this is turned out to be what a nice dude. His name is Rob Brantley.
Oh, he was a former catcher.
And he still is a catcher.
Oh, still is a catcher.
And he was on his way to Scranton to the Yankee farm system.
Oh, wow.
He's in the Yankee system. I looked up his career. He goes, don't bother. He's had like, in 7 years, he's had like 400 bats. I said, have you ever hit a home run? He goes, I got 7. That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
And I told him the Sammy Stewart story.
Oh, yeah.
So I said to him, Gary Sanchez, he's just not a good catcher. He goes, yeah, but Cary, he can hit.
Yeah.
And I later was looking at his stats. Rob Brantley, he's like a 230 hitter,
right?
But he's a really good hand.
Yeah.
And what a nice man. And we exchanged phone numbers. He said, look, when I come down here, unless the Yankees call me up, when we play
the Pigs. Yeah.
And guess what? He also said because they
play the Rail Riders too.
Well, isn't the minor league delayed at the moment?
It is, yeah.
We're doing scrimmages with Lehigh.
Oh, wow.
Maybe you want to come over.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how would I do that? He goes, just text me.
Cool.
So
that's awesome.
Rob Brantley.
There you go.
And I was home Sunday night. AJ came over. We watched a little bit of the WrestleMania till I was falling asleep, and he was sick of it. And the only good match there was more than it, but Kevin Steen against Generico was fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, that was great.
Ring of Honor represented once again.
I mean, yeah, Seth Rollins and Cesaro, Sami Zayn. And
that was my trip.
Yeah. Did you feel nervous with COVID? I know you got the vaccine. I started to go back to the gym again. I'm wearing the mask, but the mask is on until I get in the car.
I didn't feel nervous. And plus, when you're down there, and I think AJ could attest to this, there's just a different vibe. So you sort of forget about it.
Oh.
I don't know if that's an accurate way to put it. But, I was wearing masks when needed, and it was a great trip.
Yeah.
So
was we talked about the idea of flying. Was that nerve-wracking at all?
I was just worried about my physical condition.
Okay. Yeah.
I was just nervous with my back and other physical issues. But yeah, that was it.
Gotcha.
It was easy. And good thing I got that 8:30 a.m. flight because it started raining. Sunday it was thunder and lightning.
Yeah.
Lethal was stuck in Texas. He couldn't get back.
Oh, geez.
All the flights in Tampa were grounded from like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Wow.
I would have been screwed.
Yeah, that's happened to me. My parents live in Florida and up there in Ocala, and Tampa's one of the closer airports, and I've been stuck in Tampa. It's not fun.
So naturally, the sky's clear for the Sunday WrestleMania. Vince McMahon has a golden horseshoe up his butt. But they had to delay it for 30 minutes.
Rain delay on Saturday, yeah.
All right, well, I've talked enough about this trip. I hope it didn't bore everyone to death.
No, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for...
Saw a lot of cool people.
Yeah.
I'm leaving a few out, I'm sure, but it was really, really nice. And I want to thank you for listening. I hope you have a good trip this weekend.
Absolutely. And I know you and Rocky were trying to call me one of the funnier moments of the weekend.
Right.
You were trying to call me, and it was only 7 p.m., but I had to explain to Cary, when you got kids in a hotel and they're...
Rocky's like, why the hell don't he answer?
And when they're asleep, you can't move. Like, me and Sarah were in the one bed. we're kind of tiptoeing. Zach's sleeping. Nora's in the pack and play.
He wasn't upset.
Once they finally go.
If anything, he was disappointed because I was complimenting him on his broadcasting.
Yeah, did an excellent job.
And we were talking about ROH. We were talking about New Japan and how the relationship is still solid. And no one knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. So in a good way.
Right. And I think especially once the pandemic's more under control,
exactly.
I think we'll see the fruits of that relationship bear more fruit.
So next week we'll be back at you with some down and dirty stories.
There you go.
But yeah, I want to thank everybody who I got to see that weekend. It was a pleasure seeing these people. Mm-hmm. And I want to express condolences to Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy, who lost their father this week. I sent Matt a meager text, and he responded. And I told him, "Look, I lost my father, 30 years ago. So he's like, he goes, thank you, Cary. He had a good run. So
yeah, we're thinking about them, and we appreciate what they've done for Ring of Honor, especially.
Absolutely.
They had a heck of a fun time here with them, and we'll have some more fun next week. We'll talk about some
fun this week too.
We did. We'll talk about some down-home debauchery. I'll have a Disneyland story or Disney World story. Maybe you'll. We'll get to
AJ, remind me to ask him about his Ybor City story. We'll hear about that.
I don't know if the statute of limitations has expired on what I did.
But I'm going to definitely remind him.
But we will. We'll definitely dig into that.
I think AJ perused Ybor City.
When you go across the train tracks, there's a club, and anyway. We'll get into that maybe next week.
Oh, is that the one with the rainbow flag? I saw.
Well, we stopped at that one, and then we stopped at the one where the girls. Anyway, we will get to that maybe at some point, and we hope you are there with us. So for AJ, Cary, I'm Ian. Happy wrestling. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Last Stop Penn Station.
For listening to Last Stop Penn Station podcast. Rate, review, like, subscribe, and share on your favorite platform. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or at laststoppennstation.com.